today's video is all about an asteroid. Yeah, not a planet, not a comet. It's an asteroid named Chiron. Let me show you the glyph. Here's Chiron. Take a close look and you can see it looks a lot like a key, or even better, a skeleton key. So why am I talking about Chiron? Well, you've got wounds. You're hurt, you're mad, you're angry, you're fed up at life, you just, there's something going on. And Chiron is now transiting Aries for the next 8 years. And he's somewhere in your chart. Chiron will be in one of the houses and in one of the signs in your chart. And what it's doing is activating, triggering your core wound. We all have one. Your mother has one. Your father has one. Your sisters and brothers, your friends, and we all carry wounds. And we all have core wounds that have us by the tail. They hold us back from being the greatest expression of who we are meant to be. So let me tell you a little bit of history about Chiron. Now, that asteroid was discovered in 1977. So it's been about 50 years since, astrologers, astronomers have been aware of Chiron. Chiron is orbiting between Uranus and Saturn. Now, Uranus is rebellious and Saturn is restrictive. And right between the two, we have Chiron. Chiron is also a centaur. That means he's half animal and he's half man. And in 1977, actually from 1968 until 1977, Chiron was transiting Aries. Okay, so for those of us that are old enough to remember, go back to the 60s and 70s. What was going on? Peace, man. Flower children, hippies. Drugs were on the scene. Rock and roll. There was something being initiated. Something was moving forward. Aries, fire sign, cardinal, door opener. Something's moving forward. Something is changing. And it really was. John F. Kennedy was around. Martin Luther King was around. There were big players coming on scene. Women wanted to be liberated. It was the age of Aquarius. We were being turned on to the fact that the gears of heaven are shifting. There's a new player coming on board, Chiron, and he's saying, time to heal those childhood wounds. Now, if you go back, for those of us, again, that are old enough to remember, we were in our teens, maybe in our 60s, in the 60s and 70s, and we went through the blame game. It was like blaming your mom, blaming your dad, I'm this way because, that still goes on. But, it was huge back then because this was the beginning of healing the wounded child, the inner child. So psychotherapy, different healing modalities to get in touch with those wounds, whatever. This was really happening. 60s, 70s, 80s. It continues to, but that was the beginning. Okay? So I wanted to talk to you today about Chiron because guess what? Chiron is transiting Aries again. Now, it was in Pisces for a lot of years, back in 2011, and it shifted in 2018, April, into Aries, but it kind of retrograded back here into Pisces, but it's now positioned in Aries until 2027. So, again, we are being activated, triggered to get in touch with those deeper core wounds, like be willing to go into the rabbit hole and take a look at those patterns that keep reoccurring for you. It's karmic. karma that's coming up, past life issues, early childhood issues. They're all bubbling to the surface. And if we think about Aries and its ruling planet of Mars, and that it rules the first house, well, Aries can be, there's aggression there. Mars is self-will, and so it's warrior mode, and, warriors get wounded. So look at how you're being really maybe too aggressive in your life, where you're being, a tough cookie, and you're just barreling through and, taking the bull by the horns. And then, we have to blend this, because you just can't pick one thing out of your astrology chart. You can't piecemeal it. It's a real blending, because the whole chart is holographic. But anyway, we also want to look at, in your chart, where in your chart, what house, that's the playing field, what house is Chiron in, and what sign is it in. Now that's going to give you a big fat clue about your core wound. That's where you're really holding a deep wound. So you want to look at that. We're looking at, where is Aries for you? What cusp is Aries on? Okay? Then you want to look at, what house is Chiron in, and what sign is it in? This is going to give you a lot of information. Can you imagine if they taught this in school? The teachers in the class would have a clearer understanding of the children. And I really believe, because astrology is a tool for the Aquarian age. It's here to stay. Constantine, back in 321 CE, he threw it out, and you would have been killed to even mention the word. They knew, the emperors and the hierarchical big shots, they knew this study, but they kept it away from the common people. But in the age of Aquarius, you are going to see astrology. In fact, now it's a university course. You are going to see astrology being used as a study of the psyche. I mean, Joseph Campbell wrote a book, The Hero's Journey. Let me grab this book. I mentioned this book, last video, Cosmos and Psyche by Richard Tarnas. There's a lot of books, but, the Aquarian age is about the development of the mind. And this is a clue. This is universal mind thinking, from Aries to Pisces and everything in between. There's 360 degrees of light and shadow. I mean, there is a lot of information in here, and all of us have a particular blueprint that we come with that holds clues and mysteries. And if we study it and look at it, I mean, this is half the battle. The Course in Miracles says, look at your darkness, but don't dwell. But come on, you need to know what you're up against, right? So if teachers had this study, or in partnership, people you hire for a job, if you had an understanding of each other, we would be better. We could hold space for one another without judgment, because we would understand that we're all holding some core wound. We're all wounded in some way. And at the same time, we carry within us the gene, if you will, for healing. And that gene is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit in our heart. If we hook up with the Holy Spirit and take a look at our wounds, because wounds create magic thoughts. And the Course in Miracles talks about magic thoughts. Those are thoughts about your past, and thoughts about your future. Those are magic thoughts, but we can transcend those magic thoughts. First, we have to know, what are my magic thoughts? Where are they coming from? They're coming from your core wound. So I wanted to read here from the Course in Miracles. I love to incorporate the Course into everything that I teach. And from chapter 7, The Decision for God, here's what it says about healers. There have been many healers who did not heal themselves. They have not moved mountains by their faith, because their faith was not whole. Some of them have healed the sick at times, but they have not raised the dead. So with Chiron coming into the picture since 1977, we have a real opportunity to heal that core wound, to really, with compassion and to be gentle with ourselves and to take a look at that core wound and heal it. And the result will be you can move a mountain, you can raise the dead, and you can walk on water. So why wouldn't you want to heal your core wound? So now look, if you want a chart done, you can contact Jamie or go to the website and anchoringthelight.org and request a chart, and we can take a look at where your Chiron is in your chart. Now, unfortunately, the printout of your natal chart does not have a description, or it doesn't give you a definition about what's going on in your life with Chiron. It's going to show you the placement, the house, and the sign that it's in. So that's really good information. If you're a mini astrologist and you have a little bit of idea, you can figure it out. But if you want some help, if you're stuck and you want some deeper understanding of Chiron in your chart, hook up with me. I would love to talk to you about the process of healing Chiron, your deep wound, with you. We can have a Skype session. Why not? The other thing I want to talk about is this book. I like this book. The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ by Levi. This book was written in 1908, and it was actually given to me by a wonderful teacher many years ago, and I just reread it. So I wanted to share it with you because here's what it says on the back of it. It says, from the Akashic Records, the story of Jesus, the man from Galilee, and how he attained Christ consciousness open to all men. It's a complete record of the lost 18 years, so strangely silent in the New Testament, a period spent traveling and learning from the masters, the seers, and the wise men in the temples and the schools of Egypt, Tibet, India, Persia, and Greece. So in the beginning of the book, there's some great questions here. It says, what is an age? What is the Piscean age? What is the Aquarian age? What are the Akashic records? So if you want an easy read and a good read about Jesus the Christ, attaining Christ consciousness, understanding what those 18 lost years were all about, this is a great book. So I wanted to share that with you. The other thing is I am holding an astrology retreat. Now, the original date for that was going to be in June at the summer solstice, but I've got a lot going on, some projects going. I need to move it into July. So the retreat weekend will be July 13th and 14th. Now I'm calling it an astrology retreat because I'm offering a breathwork session Saturday night. I mean, we're going to spend the whole day Saturday reviewing and memorizing and going really deep into discussion about planets, houses, signs. We've got to get that down pat. Once you memorize all of that, you're well on your way to understanding all the layers that astrology, it's a layered material. It really is. And it's holographic. And there's some intuitive, it brings out your psychic ability as well. So, but we want to get the basics down pat. So listen, if you didn't attend last year's astrology class and I've tweaked your interest in wanting to know more, join us. Come on. Just sign up and come to the class, and you'll learn a lot. This is a tool, like I said, it's a tool that's here to stay, and it can really help you in so many areas of your life. So all day Saturday, we're going to be reviewing, we're going to be doing charts, we're going to break up into groups, and we're going to work with one another. We're going to have, I'm going to hold up a sign. Let's say I'll hold up a sign, and you're going to understand what all of these lines mean. What does this mean? Because even that is bringing us some really amazing, helpful information. Everything, the symbols of astrology, everything. They refer to medical astrology, your body. They are giving us clues about healing. It's really fun and amazing. So Saturday will be a full day. Your head might feel like it's spinning, so don't worry. Saturday night, we're going to breathe it out. We'll do a nice breath works. And you know, breath works is awesome. I've been doing that for, 30 years. I have to say, it's one of the most cleansing, purifying, healing modalities that I personally have ever experienced. So we're going to do that Saturday night. So you're going to have your mind emptied, cleared, like a clean slate. So when you come back on Sunday, you're ready to listen, absorb, and really get and have a deeper understanding of everything that you've learned. So think of this as an astrology retreat. It's almost 2 months away. You've got lots of time to book a room, get yourself settled here in Malacca, and come join us. It's a lot of fun, and it's an extremely useful tool. So again, I want to say if you're 40, 50, or 51, you're dealing with your Chiron return, and you might feel a little bit or maybe a lot triggered, but you are definitely in a return. For the rest of us, we're all being affected by Chiron, and I'm going to talk a lot about Chiron at this workshop, which I've never brought up before, and but it's so, with the next 8 years ahead of us in this transit, along with other astronomical placements going on, it's time we talk Chiron. So I hope to see you at the astrology retreat, but in the meantime, I want to tell you that I love you. You know that I do. And I'll be back in another week or so with some interesting information. Until then, have fun, take care. Bye for now.